Hello, welcome to Manny Beal, and welcome to part 3, I think it is, of my deconstruction of Stefan Molyneux's self-loathing rant on his series on History of Philosophers. Now, there's more to it than just philosophy. You should always have your sophist, skeptic tinfoil hat on when you're listening to Stefan Molyneux, right? Because I bet you. Now, whenever somebody says something, there is always an agenda beneath it, right? The question is always, what might the agenda be, right? I have an agenda when I'm not sitting and throwing out sounds from my mouth without some kind of agenda behind it. That should be obvious, right? The point is just, what might the agenda be? And even if I told you what my agenda is, I might lie to you, right? So you have to make your own judgment what the kind of agenda I might have behind, for instance, doing this series of deconstructions of Stefan Molyneux. I hope I come across as somebody who is sort of trustworthy, though I would never tell you to trust me, right? But, I can only try to come across virtuous in this regard, you can say, right? So people I could potentially get them to trust but trust is a difficult thing, right? I would never tell anybody to trust me, right? I would rather say, don't fucking trust me. Don't just trust me. Listen and be careful, right? Because I might have screwed up something and thinking I'm great, right? So that kind of skepticism and humility should be at the forefront of philosophy. Now, that's not particularly a peak competence of Stefan Molyneux, rather than instead I have always, at least the last 6 or 7 years, had an incredible strong sense there's an underlying agenda, right? And when it creeps to the top, when he sort of screws with his own statements, like he's an anarchist and he's an atheist and so on, and then he starts to suck the dick of the Orange Man and, suck the ass of Christians, right? Then it's sort of, what the hell, man, right? There must be some underlying thing going on that is not explicitly stating, but you have to put together yourself, right? Now, in this case here, right, where he says for 40 years of multiple decades, he has been frustrated about these philosophers who are apparently not coming up with sufficient amounts of ethics according to him. And I might agree with that, but and now he sits there as, okay, I've done 16 parts now, and I am completely frustrated, and I'm near bottomless boredom and rage and contempt for my entire. It's sort of, but if it's a decade-long frustration, why did it take you 16 parts to get to that point now? It sounds like he's trying to manipulate you, right? There are contradictions built in there, right? Be careful as soon as there are contradictions in people's philosophy. Be fucking careful, right? Because they're trying to either fool themselves or fool you, or both, right? So, in this case, I have the sense that he's trying to use this as a leverage to convince you that he's the only one who has done anything remotely useful when it comes to ethics, right? And it's interesting that he does it after 16 parts, just before we will get into the better part of the Enlightenment, and we get to maybe Voltaire and Immanuel Kant and David Hume and so on, right? Who wrote books on morality, right? I'm not sure about Voltaire, but he's sort of a curious figure in that department, right? In later years, I've hardly ever heard anybody refer to Voltaire in any particular way, other than some great quotes that are for instance, if you want to know who rules you, check out who you're not allowed to criticize, right? I don't know if exactly that it has been contested whether Voltaire actually said that, but it has been attributed to him. So it's fine. I like that quote, right? And there are several of those Voltaire quotes that condenses some decent philosophy into a very digestible bite, right? Okay, in this case, he's trying to convince you that he's the Jesus of philosophy here, right? He's the one descending from the skies, handing you the tablets that says ethics, morality, UPB, do it, right? Now, this is, I mean, it's so obvious when you see it, right? It's like, I mean, do you think I'm fucking stupid, man, right? And no, he doesn't think I'm stupid. And that's why he would reject me or try to get rid of me, because I would point out that he's full of shit, right? But as long as there are sufficient amount of blind people and NPCs and so on, and half-assed Christians and whatever, right, who actually wants to believe him, that's all he needs. Then he has sort of isolated him with his little congregation of midwits and nitwits, right, who are following the one-eyed king, thinking he's sort of Jesus of philosophy, right? Okay. Let's get back into, he left off in the last part something like, okay, now there's some, I don't remember exactly, but so this is the thing, something like that he said, right? So I'm going to listen in carefully and hear what he has to say.
Many elements within the Christian churches would have applauded UPB. Now, I'm not saying it would be exactly the same as UPB, but the proofs would...
Oh, okay. So I seem to remember that the subtitle of the book of UPB was a secular and rational proof of ethics. Now, if we look away from the idea of proving ethics, which is stupid, right? He does say it's secular, right? Now, if something is called secular, I'm not sure that religious people are going to say, whoa, that sounds like something for me, right? So now he's sort of twisting, he's twisting his world around with words, because basically all he has is twisting words, right? Twisting yourself or what the hell is going on. Manipulating your mind into thinking he's Jesus of philosophy and so on, right? Now this is the closest I can get to a definition of a sophist without going into some tirade of whatever, right? I mean, writing a book that says this is secular ethics, and then trying to convince you, I'm sure Christians will love this. I mean, it's like it's Monty Python level of stupid, this, right? I mean, if anybody would love it, I think Monty Python might love it, actually, right? Although they're so old now, but, you know. Oh, man, somebody pointed out in the comments I'd made the last one a premiere, so I forget the name of the guy, but sorry if I don't remember your name, I'm getting old too, right? But saying something like, the Monty Python's The Quest for the Holy Grail is better philosophy than Stefan Molyneux. And I mean, I would rather watch, the Holy Grail 5 times in a row than sitting through an audio book of UPB or something like that, right? So to that end, I would agree in a way, right? But I remember that I quoted there's a quote from, there's a particular scene there's a lot of scenes I love in the Holy Grail of Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail, right? That guy with the gay the faggot son, right? Who's sort of he shoot his little arrow out to be saved from big bad father, right? Who's sort of Viking, in this swamp castle. I built the castle and it sank into the swamp. Then I built a new one and that sank into the swamp. Then I built a third one, right? It burned down, tipped over, and then fell into the swamp, right? Then I built a fourth one, and that's the one standing here. And you're going to inherit that, my son. And he's just, but I just want to be. And these two guards who are so stupid, they don't understand a simple order that you stay here and look out, make sure my son doesn't leave. And it's, oh my God, it's so stupid, man. Oh, no, that's much better philosophy than Stefan Molyneux. I would agree. Oh, man. If you haven't, I mean, if you for some reason have been stuck under a rock for 50 years or so and have never seen Monty Python's The Quest for the Holy Grail, and you do have some sense of, dark humor or black humor, right? I mean, I implore you to go watch it. It's great, right? And you might want to check out The Life of Brian also, which is not quite as crazy, but it also has a lot of great scenes in it, right? So, but enough of that. Let's hear further.
Be the same. I mean, the communication of it, the focus of it, the analogies, the metaphors, whatever would be used to, but E equals MC squared is E equals MC squared. You don't rewrite that. And the proofs of UPB for the...
Why don't you rewrite? What do you mean by that? Because Einstein rewrote Newton's equation, right? F equals m times g, I think it's also known as in English, right? Force equals mass times the gravitational acceleration, right? What is it called? I don't remember. But G force, right? F equals m times g. He rewrote that to something different that took into consideration how fast you move and so on, right? Or whatever, I don't remember exactly. But it has been rewritten in a new formula. Why can't you rewrite E equals mc squared? If you find some kind of improvement of it, you would want to rewrite it, wouldn't you, right? This thing about this is reality, this is how it is, now it's cut in stone, you can't change it. No, you can't change whatever your formulas is describing, but you can change the formulas that describe whatever that is. If it's a better and more cohesive way of describing it, in my opinion, that would be a scientific approach to things, right? This half-ass religious dogmatic thing, it is written in the tablets, it cannot be changed, right? He suffers from that very much, right? And it's a spin-off, or that sounds like it's a positive thing, right? It's a negative spin-off, you could say, of his need for certainty, right? He cannot survive, apparently, without a very, very, very strong notion of certainty. And that makes him go much further than he can in his beliefs of what can be known and what can be accessed objectively and all this, right? And that's why he needs something to be fucking cut in marble. Just like the stone tablets of, Moses coming down from the mountain or whatever, right? That's not how it works. Right? We are all within our own subjective experience of whatever it is, right? That is as far as I would go in one go, right? You have to actually go deeper than that way if you're going to do good metaphysics. But let's stay with that, right? And if you have your own subjective experience, and somebody else comes and says, "No, I have objectivity out here," then that's a subjective part of your subjective experience that tells you that there's something that is objective out there, right? How does that work? Your experience tells you, which must be subjective, otherwise, who the hell is having that experience other than me, right? That something is objective, a given. What would that be, right? I mean, so he can never get out of these sort of circles, right? it's sort of epi-circles of philosophy that, and that's why he's so, I would think that's why he's so confused about all this, trying to bring, politics and Donald Trump into it, and religion and God and Jesus and, what the fuck else, right? And I was just thinking the other day, maybe a reason why he's doing this is because of some daddy issues. I don't know, but he was stuck with his crazy mother, right? And his father, as far as I understand, was living in Africa somewhere, South Africa, mining, whatever thing. You might correct me if I'm wrong there, but something like that, right? So he basically never saw his father, right? So he didn't have any. He didn't have anyone to represent that place in his family. So that must potentially have created some kind of daddy issues, right? Obviously, man. And nobody's going to tell me that 10 visits to a psychiatrist or therapist or whatever is going to fix that, right? He's possibly still suffering from some attachment issues and daddy issues and so on, right? And I see there's one guy I follow quite a lot, somebody called Salty Cracker, who's sort of a prior socialist turned conservative or something like that. And he's a good source of what is going on in the US, right? From a very, very critical point of view, because I like to hear all views, all points of views, right? I'm a free speech absolutist in that sense. It's not that I necessarily agree with all his, antics and so on, right? He's sort of ADHD kind of guy, right? But that, so be that, right? But he seems to have a very, from I can piece together, his mother made him a socialist when he was young. That's very strong indication that he has the piece of shit father that wasn't very strong, right? And was under the thumb of the mother there, right? So he would possibly have some daddy issues. Now, how does that come across? He loves a guy like Donald Trump, who comes across as a strong male, whatever, right? Hey, I'm so stoic and Salty Cracker behind him. There's these, fantasy pictures of Abraham Lincoln as a wrestler, or George Washington as a gun-toting whatever, right? Something like that. That's just half-assed craziness to me, right? That's sort of, okay, you have daddy issues, right? If there's not a strong father figure in your family, then you will end up having some kind of attachment to some father figure in the realm of politics or whatever, right? And why wouldn't the same be the case for a guy like Stefan Molyneux? It seems like that, right? He needs some kind of ideology to attach himself to, and he needs a father figure, right? The ideology is Christianity, and the father figure is Orange Man, right? I mean, come on, man, right? And if he can't convince that his own philosophy, and presented in his book called UPB, which sucks, quote, right? Comment. Insert comment here. Then he's sort of, okay, but then I would be all alone with my philosophy, and he wouldn't be able to stand that because he doesn't have the backbone, because he has daddy issues, right? So he has to lean up against something else to say, okay, then Donald Trump has to punish people into submission, right? It's something along those lines, right? That's what I'm hearing.
The fact that rape, theft, assault, and murder can never be universally preferable behavior, those would be the same. It is.
Now, him thinking that he has proved anything by saying murder is wrong, right? That's basically just stupid. It's some ignorance of semantics and so on, right? And thinking that words are just magical things that can prove anything, right? They have to reference something that is experiential. Otherwise, it's just words floating in the air, right? And if you take them seriously, you're just being manipulated, right? Or you should treat yourself as being manipulated. It has to be anchored in something, and that's why I'm so focused on pointing out that you need a reduction base in your metaphysics. Now, when he says murder is wrong, I don't have to prove that. Or murder must be wrong because it's wrong, something like that. He's basically just saying a red apple is red, right? As I pointed out a couple of times, when you say murder is wrong, you're saying a wrong kind of killing is wrong. Obviously, right? It's tautological. It's the meaning of the word. The term murder, it means wrong, right? And saying a red apple is the same as saying a red apple is red and thinking you're proving something. You haven't proven anything. You're just stating the obvious, right? So, thinking that you can prove that murder is wrong, or take murder is wrong and then use that as a proof of morality, is ridiculous. Because there is no pointing, it's circumventing a description of what it means to be wrong, right? If you're smuggling in the word murder, you're smuggling in the term wrong, actually, without pointing out how you got to that, right? And if he says that, oh, I'm so scientific and so on, he's sort of implicitly saying, I can experience wrongness by saying I can experience murder. So the obvious question should be, well, how the hell do you experience that? Well, show me one time when he has ever been able to say to somebody or state somehow, this is how you experience wrongness, right? And then he should actually follow his own ground rules for the UPB, which is Hume's ill-thought gap, that says, yes, if you want to argue for wrongness, you can't just say this is the case, that is the case, this is not the case, and therefore you should and shouldn't, which is the same as or saying ought or wrong or anything like that, which is a sort of moral connotation within a statement that suddenly appears out of nowhere, right? So it's like, it's just a bunch of hot air, his book. It doesn't work. He doesn't even pinpoint what he needs to establish in order to do what he attempts or think he attempts to do. That's a level of ignorance that is so ridiculous that it's like it's on the level of what the hell, what, man, right? I don't even have a sufficient word to describe how ridiculous it is, right? There's sometimes when I have deconstructed his books, right, I'm going on a sort of, what, man? It's like, what kind of fucking parallel universe are you living in, man, right? Where you claim to be the biggest philosopher of all time, having found the holy grail of philosophy and so on, and when you look at it, it's like a fucking child's drawing, not to, bash children, but, you can't just make a couple of lines in the sand and, build a sandcastle and say, hey, I've created the holy grail of philosophy, right? Man. And the only way he survives is with his linguistic skills, where he just keeps dragging people around this menagerie of sophistry, and basically maybe even gaslighting them, right? Into, I guess I have to study this and listen to this. So, and the more gaslighting is, the more people listen to him because they want to understand something, right? Holy crap, man, right? The level of stupidity is it's next level then, right?
Something that has blown my mind. Sideways, like a Tom Cruise Mach 10 jet farting, sound barrier breaking expulsion from both ears. The Christians have embraced UPB to a large degree, and the atheists.
How the hell does he know that? There are more than 1 billion Christian people in the world. How the hell does he get data like that? How does he get statistics like that? That more than 500 million people have accommodated his bullshit philosophy. I don't fucking buy that, right? He's trying to force you to think that, the Christians like it because they already have an ethics. So they are open to my sort of crappy ethics, right? And if they're open for it, it must be because it's similar. Otherwise, they will be sort of, it's not like the Ten Commandments. What is it? So what is he doing, right? Don't give him that crap that Christians support the non-aggression principle because they are beating the shit out of their children on a daily basis. And the crusades and whatever you have, right? It's basically the aggression principle to be a Christian. So this is just sophist bullshit. In order to sell you a shit sandwich that fucking... It's like... please, man, use your reasoning skills and your skeptical sense and so on. Don't buy this outright. Be careful that you make sure that you understand what the hell he's trying to do. And you might read his book, and then you might want to listen to my deconstructions of his UPB and get a sense of how ridiculously bad it is, right? And if Christians are buying this hook, line, and sinker, I have even less respect than having almost zero respect for Christians, right, already. Because then they're fucking stupid. They have no sense of direction or rigidity or what it takes to argue philosophically and so on, right? Man. How is he able to keep going in these circles of epicircles of sophistry, right? It's unbearably stupid.
Yes. Have ignored, rejected, and attacked it. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Oh, blew my mind. I'm sort of getting it now. One of the things that we know from the history of philosophy is that God, as the author of the universe, was not insulted when human beings studied the properties of matter and energy to figure them out. That if you study a computer program to understand how it works, you're also studying the mind of the computer programmer. You study the clock, you're studying the clockmaker. So studying the universe was also studying the mind of God. Now, I get that there were tensions within the church that if you studied too much and you removed God from the equation, he threatened to become a deistic...
When will people ever let go of this religious stupid shit? Now, is it like when people get down to the basics and they feel possibly a very strong sense of anxiety that what the hell might I find down there, right? And what I might find is there is no God, there is only myself that I can trust, and my experiences are just experiences. I might classify them as this and that, but basically they're just experiences and so on. What do I hang on to? Because I would have to come up with my own fucking system of everything, right? I can't even trust my mother and my father and Donald Trump or anything, right? I can't just outright trust things. That might create some anxiety in you. Then people get down there, if they at all get close to it, they might just grab something. Okay, I need something to hold on to, right? What is there? Okay, Christianity, for instance, right? It's sort of a last resort, a get out of jail card, to just grab onto religion or grab onto Donald Trump or something like that, right? Maybe not Donald Trump, but you know what I'm getting at, right? And only the strongest Übermensch, to paraphrase Nietzsche, right, is going to say, no, I'm fucking going to do it by myself. I'm not going to lean up against something I was told, right? I'm not going to let whatever screwed up ideas somebody else came up with take precedence over my own thinking, right? Isn't that some kind of enlightenment ideal, right? I mean, Hume is a big proponent of that, right? To some extent, John Locke is a proponent of that. Spinoza might be even a proponent of that, right? Even though I don't really understand much of what he was saying, right? Immanuel Kant was an outspoken proponent of it, right? Voltaire was think for yourself, man, right? Don't let somebody else tell you how to think, right? And then 50 years later, we have Karl Marx telling you you are part of a class system and whatever. Oh my God, right? And then everything went down from there then on, right? It's not supposed to be a history lesson, this, right? History is just a story. So I guess you can't live without some kind of story. But you have to be critical about the story you create, right? And not that the story tell you how it should be understood, right? So I like story, I like history, I like to try to get me as myself a good, correct picture of what actually happened in the past, rather than the winners take it all, right? To quote ABBA. And the winner tells you what was going on, right? Sometimes the losers are more correct in the description of what actually went on. So it's like, I'm doing, just as a side note here, an interesting thing with my daughter, who is sort of a teenager, and she's really exploring history and trying to understand a lot of things and so on, right? And as a guy who's very interested in postal history, stamp philately and postal history, and particularly the postal history of Germany, I, a couple of years back, or a year back maybe, 1.5 years back maybe, I bought a box of, average stuff. It was quite cheap. It was one of those, it looks interesting, let me just buy that, see what happens, right? And there was sort of swath of letters that was merely just the letters, not the envelopes or stuff like that. And it was sort of, I saw that it was a field post, right? Or war mail, you could say. I don't know what the normal average term is, right? And, it was from the First World War. And it was written between 1914 and 1918, right? And 1919, I think. So, and I was not I never spent much time on it because it's sort of a very weird kind of postal history kind of area, these field post mail, right? That is different from the normal stuff. It's sort of a particular area that either you go deep into it and stay with that, or you avoid it, kind of, right? At least that's generally my approach. But then I discovered that all of the letters were written by the same person. And, thinking about it, was at least the most letters was from 1917 and 1918. And I read a bit of it, and I saw that this was a German guy, who had been, drafted into the war, not because he wanted it, and I'll elaborate on that, and who apparently survived it. I have checked his name and found where he lived. He lived in a German city called Erfurt, and he survived until, and that's sort of a spin-off story, but he survived until the Second World War, and at the end of the Second World War, he was bombed to death by the Allies, right? I'm not trying to, it's not funny actually, right? It's morbid, right? But it's like, what can you do, right? But the point I was trying to get to, that the letters which I have started to translate together with my daughter, and she's 14 going on soon 15, right? She's actually interested in understanding what happened and understanding from this first person perspective. So we are sort of second person perspective on his description of and his thoughts about being a part of this dreadful war and so on, right? By 1917, they are not as gung-ho as they were in 1914. I can assure you that, right? So this is sort of from the other... usually we sort of from the winner's point of view, the Germans were the bad guys and so on, right? And, that's not completely ridiculous to say, right? But it's not a clear-cut thing about, certainly not the outbreak of the World War and how the hell that happened, right? But thinking that Germans are this militant, kind of people, no. He's obviously very much not militant, and there's one point we have reached where he's been in this Belgian training camp, in order to go to the front further down in northern France, right? In the occupied Belgium, Beverlo it's called, right? And he's talking about he's awaiting the orders of when they're going to the front. And then recently, here in 1917, early 1917, he has reached and he has gotten a message that the going to the front is postponed somewhat, right? As if, and then he's lightening up and said, okay, now the war will be over soon, or something like that, right? Maybe not exactly that, but it's like you get things from a very close to first person, as close to a first person view of what it's like to be a German soldier who doesn't want to go to any kind of war, right? Who would rather be home in Erfurt with his family, right? Clearly. So I like this kind of trying to see things from a different angle than the one you have been told, right? But, this guy's experiences with First World War, that wouldn't entail anything that would explain much of the bigger picture of the First World War. So you can't use that as any kind of explanation, but it just maybe give you a different view on things, right? Give you some inputs to what it was like, right? What was it like to be there, right? How did he feel about it? And I like that approach rather than listening to, hey, Churchill bombed these people in the Dardanelles in 1915, whatever, right? And this sort of, that's just stating the fact, right? What was it really like? And how did these people feel about it, right? Because that's more important, in my opinion, than stating the facts, right? So many people died in this battle, and that battle started there and ended there, and then they moved from this place to that place, and from this trench hole to that trench hole. That's just stupid facts, really, right? The important thing is what was it like, and what were people thinking back then, right? So, and I lost contact with why I actually went into this, but this, side note, but it's just my thinking, right?
First course rather than an interventionist miracle worker, which is part.
And actually, I just want to mention along these lines, but that we are still having, at least 100 letters left. There is close to 200 letters, transmitted by this guy, right? And we still have at least 100 letters left from early 1917 until sometime in 1918, and we are taking it chronologically, so we are sort of experiencing the whole thing as it unfolds chronologically with these letters, right? So we are sort of experiencing it as he describes the experience, and that was sort of deliberately chosen this way, and it is also that keeps my daughter sort of hooked on the story, that we want to see where we have some ideas where it is going to lead. At least he survives it, and that's also nice to know, right? So we have discussed what when we're done with this, what do we want to do about it? Maybe write a book about it, and maybe make an exhibit, a philatelic exhibit about it, or something, an open category exhibit, or whatever, right? Something. So Yeah, it's interesting. I like that kind of thing,
out of what the church was.
but it's a lot of work to translate. Now, luckily, just to mention that, luckily he has a pretty nice handwriting that is fairly easily readable, right? But I'm not the master of the German language, right? And certainly my daughter isn't either. But she learns a lot about how to read other people's writing, and she learns a bit about German language, the German language. She learns a bit about how to translate to English or to Danish, or a bit of the history and the people mentioned, and we Google some things sometimes and so on. It's just such a big learning experience that is much better than saying, okay, in 1914 this happened, and then in 1915 this happened, and that's just the encyclopedia version of it, right? A story like this is just 1,000 times better than the encyclopedia, because this is the real person telling you the story, right? As close as you can get it, right? Without being there yourself, right? And it is unencumbered by, it is as close to the actual event as you can get without the understandings and interpretations that would later arrive when historians and the media and politicians and so on try to tell you what the hell was going on there, right? Before it sort of ended, sort of real time as close as you can get to a description of what the hell was actually going on, right? But it's still his interpretation to some extent, right? But right? Piece together a picture that is sort of the closest you can get to an understanding of what the hell it felt like to be an ordinary dude in this crazy scenario, right? Okay, let's get back to deconstructing Molly, Stefan Molly, good old Molly, right?
So I get all of that. But there would have been significant support within the church for a rational examination of God's laws. Science was an exploration.
But he just said science can give you morality. So why is he just pounding on science now? Because earlier he stated that science can't give you morality or anything like that. It's just the level of craziness is next level here, right? Give me a word, please, that describes the level of craziness here, because I can't find a suiting word that is not strong enough to describe how crazy it sounds to me, right? Clusterfuck.
Exploration of the mind of God. Now, the most important of God's laws are moral laws. Therefore, how can a rational examination of morality be a repudiation?
So there's a priest standing there in his bucket, right? He's sort of yelling at people, right? I have some Christians over here who actually might like my UPB. Why don't you, right? You down there, you weirdo. Accept my UPB because I have Christians. I haven't asked them, but I'm just, trying to convince you that there's a 500 million Christians who like my philosophy, right? Oh, man. I mean, what the fuck, man, right? This is Life of Brian stuff, right?
Creation of the divine. If the most important laws that
And actually, Life of Brian is much better philosophy when, Brian stands there, full frontal, looking at people, hail our savior, right? No, you are all individuals. And then they say in as a choir, yes, we are all individuals. They're chanting. And then there's one guy who says, not me. Brilliant philosophy, right?
God makes
much better than Ayn Rand and much more funny.
Some moral laws, studying, understanding, analyzing and explicating God's moral laws is a worship of God. In the same way, to studying the mechanics of God's creation.
Why did God consider the Hebrew language so important, and why didn't he just if he could appear for somebody, why don't he just appear for everybody and say, here I am, believe in me, right? Why is he always choosing some crazy dude in sandals somewhere alone in a mountain, right? Why is it always that scenario, right? There are never anybody. There are no cameras. There's nothing anywhere, right? It's like UFOs, right? It's like they travel thousands of light years to just stop, 1,000 kilometers away from saying, here we are, right? We are from another planet. Come visit. I don't buy this shit, right? God damn, right? He must be fucking desperate, right?
Is praised to and a further understanding of God. So, philosophers could have found safe refuge in the bosom of the church, not all of it, but much of it, through a rational examination of the three biggies, right? The three biggies. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not bear false witness. No theft, no murder, no lying.
What about rape? You missed that one? Now, I don't remember, I thought about this last night. I don't know actually why, but he in another recent podcast where he talks about his daughter's sleeping habits sort of 10 years ago or something like that, 12 years ago when she was very small, right? That you have to not do something, not doing something. I don't remember the case, but that's not really important. That not doing something would be a violation of the non-aggression principle, right? Not doing X is a violation of the non-aggression principle. Now, how the hell does that work, right? Not doing X is a violation of not being violent. So not doing X must be violent. How the hell does that work? At the same time as I remember him arguing for why killing George Floyd by some idiot in a blue costume, pressing his knee down on his neck for 10 minutes until he died, apparently was not violence. Right? How do you square that circle, Batman, right? I mean, I cannot go with the non-aggression principle, right? If that's what it takes, if it's that spongy, if it's that sort of elastic that you actually need to have a hotline to Stefan Molyneux. Okay, I'm in this situation, there's one guy with a knee on my face. Is this violence or isn't it violence? Is it non-aggression? Who the hell? How the hell could that possibly work if I can't do it by my own? I have to have his judgment of whether or not it's non-aggression or not, right? That would never in a fucking gazillion years become any kind of moral principle to work with, right?
If these are God's laws and philosophy can prove the reasoning behind God's laws, that is not a rejection or a repudiation of God. That is saying God gave us rules, God gave us laws, God gave us universality, God gave us predictable principles.
Fuck off, man. Take your fucking God and shove it off your brown asshole, man, right? God is an appeal to authority. It's an appeal to you cannot think for yourself, right? Yeah, you have free will and so on. In order to be judged before you die or after you die, right? That's the only reason why you have any kind of free will. It's so you can be judged, right? That's what religion is. It's a fucking death cult. Telling you are born evil. right? And therefore your parents have to beat the shit out of you until you do as you're told, right? Nobody in the fucking world is going to tell me to align with any kind of thinking like that, right? Get it the fuck out of my face, man, right? You corrupt piece of shit, man, right? You're just waiting over all the victims of this mental illness in order to justify your bullshit philosophy, man, right? How dare you, you piece of shit philosopher, man, right? Go back to the fucking drawing board and come up with something that is better, because it sucks like a fucking vacuum, man, right? Do something rather than walking over millions of victims of a sick mentality. Fuck you, man.
And behaviors of matter, energy, and morality. God gave us reason and a rational universe. Therefore, to use reason to explicate the rational universe is not deviating from God's plan, but fulfilling it, but confirming it. God thunders from the sky. Here's the rule. Here's your brain. I'm giving you free will. There's no point me telling you. Figure it out. Here are the rules. Here's your brain. Figure it out. That since I am the rule maker.
Yes, he's so smart, apparently, that he has created something of his own, in his own picture or whatever, right? But he's then created human beings who have to wander around trying to figure out with their basic, they have to comply to the rules. At the same time, they have to figure something out by their own accord, right? Because some stupid fucking idiot, crazy idiot in sandals 2,000 years ago thought that his father was living in the clouds. Fuck you, man. Shove it up your stupid idiot asshole, man, right? We have to get further than this. We have to ditch this shit, right? People have to start to think for themselves. And you should be a proponent of that rather than push your religious stupid agenda, man, right?
Understanding the rules and following the rules as a free soul, not as a slave, not as a puppet.
How can you just follow rules you haven't agreed to as a free soul? Fuck you, man, right? I mean, it's like, oh, man. These sophists, man. The world is run by crazy people, right? And he's the prime example of how crazy all these crazy idiots popping out of, a lack of what is, the empty space left by stupid academic philosophy, right? Thinking that they can save everyone by, whatever bullshit they have come up with, right? This guy running in circles trying to force feed you his stupid philosophy using any kind of fucking stupid trick he can come up with in order for you to eat the shit he's created, right? He doesn't give a shit about anything, apparently. He has no virtue that is worth talking about here, right? Apparently the opposite. He doesn't give a shit how many people have suffered from religion, right? Because if he needs to push religion agenda in order to you to eat his shit, then he's apparently doing that, right? What do you call a kind of guy like that, right? Fuck off, man.
Not as a commanded thing, not as a robot, not as a program, but as a free thinking soul. Understand the rules and follow them.
A free thinking soul understanding the rules and following them. I mean, well, man, right? Before I fucking explode. Oh man, this guy is beyond crazy, right?
Through reason. That is what I want for you.
I don't give a shit what you want from me, right? Stay the fuck away from me with your sophist bullshit, right? You corrupt piece of garbage. Anybody with half a brain reading your shit obviously understand that you don't know what you're doing, right? You have no fucking basic clue what you're doing. You think because you're crazy that you're some kind of master of the universe where basically philosophy lives in your mansion somewhere, right? And you are paying, you're donating to philosophy if you give him money, right? And then he's going to save the world in 500 years because apparently that's the business model, right? This is a midwit, bloated, megalomaniacal kind of sophist stupidity that is, I can't explain to you how dangerous I find it, because people who are reasonable will never say stuff like this, but then they won't get this. People seem to be attracted to this kind of personality that is sort of the politician, the priest, the sophist, the snake oil salesman, the one who can butter you up and make you feel like you're important or whatever the fuck it is, right? It's just mental manipulation. When you get down to the basics and try to deconstruct what the hell he has actually written, it's like a garbage pile, right? Fancy words in a big pile pretending to be philosophy. I'm not buying it. Okay. We are at the almost 25-minute mark, so almost halfway through this. Oh man, I'm passionate about this, right? So I hope it comes across, and I hope I have, even though I'm very triggered and emotional about it, that I can actually still argue coherently and give you some inputs about what I think about Stefan Molyneux, right? So please share, like, and subscribe if you want. If you think it's reasonable, consider a donation. Links in the board and links to the board down below. Otherwise, have a nice day. See you in the next one.